Hey guys, how are we doing? Crypto Insight UK here, bringing you back another YouTube video. So before we get into it today, as you can see across the board, we're having a bit of a pullback. Bitcoin's about the only thing that's green. I mean, there are some alts that are green. Look, for example, XMR is green today. Solana's actually green today too. Hype, but mainly it's red across the board, which we've been talking about. What I did say, and we've talked about this a few weeks in YouTube last week, is at some point, let's just take the drawings off for a second, there's going to be a time where Bitcoin dominance has a relief rally. Like, nothing goes down in an absolute straight line. Like, even if we look at these periods here, although they are very like puking, like they just puke essentially, there is still these periods, look, where it's a day or 2 days where we have some relief, and that's what I was expecting. And like I suggested, areas of support for this to happen. Sorry, this is back in 2021, and like as I said, nothing moves down in an exact straight line. Like, we have a relief rally here, and then it's almost like it gives up, and then another bit of relief, then it gives up again. And I do expect that to continue as a trend. Excuse me. But if we look at like the most likely areas for a relief rally right now, I did suggest that this area will be pretty likely, as would this area here at 55%. But 60% seems like a fair area for us to see a bit of a bounce, especially when you're seeing the daily RSI as oversold as it is, down at 11. It's just likely that we see some sort of bounce at some point. And I suggested we could see something like this, and this would be quite a big relief here for Bitcoin dominance. But I think there's an argument for this. I'm not going to say that it's definitely going to happen, because alts look pretty strong still right now, and I'm going to get into that in a minute. And I think XRP, for example, could go for all-time highs today. So this could be completely irrelevant by the time you guys see this, but it's just a suggestion as to what could happen. So we have Bitcoin, we have severe liquidity above us at like $26,000, $126,000, sorry, and then more building above that, about 128,000, with a little bit less building 135 and up to 141,000. So it's not unrealistic to expect that Bitcoin could rally, lead the troops up to 62% dominance, 125, maybe $130,000, sucking in the liquidity from the alts, and then as Bitcoin hits this liquidity and starts to slow down again, like maybe something like this sort of period where it's just like cooling off and starting to chop sideways. Because remember, guys, I've been saying that I think we're in this area here, and I actually think we're in this bit like right here. So maybe Bitcoin's got 1 or 2 days where it does a bit of a madness, and alts might still go up, but maybe Bitcoin just goes up more if this theory is right, as Bitcoin dominance takes a few percent back, and then as it hits this area and starts to cool down, dominance again rolls over and alts start to go absolutely crazy. That's a suggestion. Having said that, as I said, if we just look at XRP, I'm going to get rid of trading different now, because not too much else I need to cover there on trading different, because we're not ranging. There's not really much, like the pools aren't building up the same way. But I realistically think it's only a matter of time for XRP to break all-time highs here. What we're seeing is, like a lot of people have been suggesting as well, like cup and handle. But structurally, what we've seen is a high at 265, a pullback, a retest of that high, a pullback, but not setting a lower low. We're actually still holding lows. So there's still bullish structure. RSI potentially on the hourly going to cross bullish again here. Let's see what the next few hours and days hold. Bitcoin looking pretty good, and I'm going to refer to ENA because, as you guys know, I told you on the channel, I've closed my ENA position. We had a lovely entry. We entered at about 25.5. I actually think it was a bit lower than that. That's just what I had in my head. But structurally, this is kind of looking a bit like Bitcoin right now. If we just look at this structure here, what's happened is we've had this push up. We're now like consolidating. We wicked up, kind of creating a range here almost. Might be a bit of a shorter term range here for ENA. So you could say, well, realistically, that's the top of the range. We cleared the top. The bottom of the range is like here. We cleared the bottom, and now we're just ranging within this. And if we look at Bitcoin, it did something very similar. Look, I'm going to show you. We created a range when we came up. We cleared the top of the range here, and then this would be the bottom of the range. We cleared the bottom of the range, and then we just sort of chopped about. Now you could say that there's an argument for the range to be higher than this, but this is the structure. Cleared the top, flushed down, cleared the bottom, chopped about for a bit, touched the bottom of the range again, and now potentially going for the highs. This is what I think Bitcoin could do. Yes, we still have a descending trend line of resistance like here. So that's probably the last real area Bitcoin needs to clear. But you can see what I'm showing here in terms of structure, top, bottom clearance, a bit more accumulation, breakout. ENA could be doing that exact same thing. Look, top clearance, bottom clearance, maybe some accumulation. As Bitcoin breaks out, it maybe chops sideways. I'm completely out of it. Well, not completely. I've got like a tiny bit left of my position. But if we do get a significant pullback for alts, which I do think will come at some point, and it could just be a wick, realistically, because there's going to be a lot of leverage building up. I can show you that on Velo if you like. In fact, I might. I wasn't going to because I had Velo open before, but there wasn't much I wanted to point to you guys about Velo. But I will just show you the open interest that's built up on altcoins generally, and we can take our pick. We could just basically pick any altcoin, and you can see that open interest is basically all-time high. I don't know why it's not loading. It took me about 4 goes to click the chart button. But look at Doge, for example. I like Doge, and I'm thinking about buying some Doge. But if you look at Doge's open interest, if you look at my cursor, it's at all-time highs right now, whilst price isn't. Now this can lead to aggressive movements one way or another, which is why I suggested we could have a big pullback, but it could just be a wick. Get rid of some of this open interest. And there's longs and shorts in these positions, as you can see by the premium being green and the funding being quite heavily green. It's probably more favorable to longs than shorts, but open interest is going to be high in a trending market, so don't get that confused with it necessarily being bad. It just means there's a lot of leverage in the system. ENA is a lot of leverage in there, and actually today there's a big red premium, meaning that people are trying to go short ENA, or I would suggest people are trying to go short, so it might be a time. Like, I am looking to get back into ENA. I think ENA is a good play. We've discussed this. XRP, similar, nearly all-time highs on open interest, but prices at all-time high, so it makes sense. And the structure actually for Velo is pretty much patting me on the back. It's what I said would happen. When we start to get this breakout, we'll probably start to go positive in terms of funding, in premium, sorry, and that's exactly what we've done. And I relayed this area, related this area to this area, which was the breakout before we got this breakout. So that's just what I wanted to show you in terms of open interest. There's a lot, so don't be surprised to see aggressive price action in both directions. When we start to get a trending market like this, at any point you can see 10, 20, 30% days in either direction, and then a reversal of that. And I'm going to use ENA actually as a perfect example here. If we just look on the 4 hourly, look at the fluctuation of price from yesterday. If we go from the highs to the lows, in the space of like 1 day, it's done 20% to the downside, but also in the space of 1 day, it does 20% to the upside. So it's like, you're going to get washed out if you're using too much leverage. That's 20% to the upside. You're going to get washed out if you use too much leverage in these markets. And also, you don't get a lot of time to make decisions. So I might have acted a bit rash with my ENA play, and I've spoken about it and justified it to you guys as to why, because I wanted cash, and it's actually much better for me to be in cash mentally, because I can concentrate on my bigger bags, like my XRP bag, and be sitting on some cash. But you don't have long to act. That's a 20% swing, and 20% is a lot. If it, like, let's say it's XRP in this example for me, if XRP is at $9, $10, $11, $12, 20% at $11 is significant. 20% at $11 is like $2.50. Well, $2 and a bit, $2.20 or whatever. But it's a lot of money that would be. Like, imagine $2.20 fluctuation in your portfolio per XRP that you own is a lot. So you don't get long to make these decisions in trending markets, and that's why having these take profit plans is so crucial. Other than that, guys, I haven't got loads more to tell you. I'm going to just have a quick look at XRP dominance, which is still sitting at its range highs. Look, we're waiting for this next little push, and I do think, although we've talked about an XRP Bitcoin still sitting at the range highs, XRP ETH is something I've not really covered for a while. There's not really much to say. We were holding below a resistance level. We're now holding that support, waiting to see what happens on this next leg. But as much as I said, I think Bitcoin and Bitcoin dominance could push higher. Bitcoin could go for that liquidity today. It doesn't mean that I don't think XRP will. I think XRP is a bit of an anomaly at the minute. It's leading altcoins on the whole. It's got a lot of bullish momentum behind it, and 7 years of pent up like coiling or accumulation. This thing could break at any point, and I think when we break 365, a lot of people are expecting $4, $4.50. I wouldn't be expected for it to really blast through these levels and start to go towards $6, $7, $8 in almost no time if it's time for us to break. And the reason I say that is because when we're at this level down here, 55 cent, we were looking up towards the range high was 70 cent, and then everyone said, oh, a dollar's going to be a struggle. We actually blasted through a dollar, went to like 128. We came down. We didn't quite retest the dollar, if I remember correctly. It was really close, but we didn't quite get there, I think. Yeah, $1.006, so ish, but not quite. Accumulated and then really started to send it again. The next push took us up to 148, which is obviously a 50% move, and then a bit of a pullback again from 158. I'll show you. Look, even in these areas, like it is still a lot of chopping around 22% to the downside, so that'd flush you out of leverage. And then we really had that next aggressive move to the upside. And right now, I think this is nothing really. Like I think this is just the start of a move. We're now consolidating on top of all-time high. Kind of reminds me of maybe like this period here at $1. And the next leg is just aggressive to the upside, or it could even be this area here at 70 cent. It's probably more likely to be that, to be honest. I'll just take us into the 4 hour and have a look at that. What we can see is we broke the range. We sat on top of the range, working the range out, and then we started to really get going. So maybe we could see that sort of move next. Maybe that's what percentage, just have an average amount. So 70, let's say 65, 70%. Where would that take us? Now we're at these prices, like 65, 70% could take us pretty high, to be honest. It's like, that takes us up to $5.75, $6. And that's the sort of area that I do think that we're attacking next. I think it's a safe and easy thing to say, oh, we're going to go to $4.50, $4 as our next real resistance. But I do think that if history repeats, as crypto normally does, as moves continue, they get more aggressive. So I'm looking for a move as aggressive, if not more aggressive than this from November for XRP. So I hope you understand that logic. We're watching Bitcoin today. Don't be afraid of a pullback. If there is a wider pullback, you've got some cash. If you've been following the same sort of positions as me, use it to allocate into your favorite alts, probably spot. If you really want to try and time some leverage, do and put some bids in, maybe lower than you're expecting to buy spot. But if you buy spot, you can ride those 20% fluctuations and still see 20, 30, 40% upside days. So that's what I'm doing. I'm not playing too much with leverage right here. I was leveraged on the last push up, as in the November one for XRP. It created me significant cash, and now I'm using that cash to swing spot. But try and protect your cash here, because the ultimate goal from this cycle for you guys and myself is to accumulate cash. Like, cash is obviously what we measure everything in. So sitting there with a massive bag of crypto that fluctuates at the end of the cycle is great, but the real goal is to have significant amount of cash so you can make lifestyle changes, positive, hopefully, and then reallocate towards if we have a bear market or there's other things to invest in. I'm not saying to ever sell all of your bag. I personally won't do that, but my goal this cycle is to turn my crypto into a large portfolio of cash and then go from there. As we move forwards through these like uncertain times, like I think crypto is going to be here to stay now, but I still think we'll see fluctuations. We're trying to multiply our value so we can improve our quality of life on the whole for ourselves and whoever else we might be trying to do that for. So keep your head locked in. If you make profit on a trade, don't worry about what anyone else says or thinks. That's what I always say to you. So my thought process with the NA, you can see the psychological battle that we have. We sold ENA, we bought ENA, we made 100% in 2 weeks, fantastic. We sold it, still it's slightly increasing in price. Psychologically, it's difficult. I'm sharing all of this with you so you can understand the psychological journey for when you start to take profit as well. Don't worry about it. You made some money, well done. If you get an opportunity to get back in and you want to, do it. If you don't, you made a lot of money. So that's the way you got to think about it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, let me know in the comment section if you've got any questions below. If you want to trade on leverage, I obviously have an affiliate link with MEXC and also with WeX, so go and check them out if you want to try to non-KYC exchanges. That's everything from me today. Peace up, A-Town down, as Crypto Insight UK would say.